You know how to do this.
Hello folks, and welcome to F1 Live, your post-race show, coming to you live from the incredible Zandvoort circuit here in the Netherlands. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Formula E world champion Nick de Vries. Nick, I got to say, I'm not Dutch. You are.
And Dutchman.
You are.
Yes.
This place.
Proudly.
And after today, like today, I can see why. What
Yes.
an atmosphere, what a place, just what a brilliant weekend it's been.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic to see the whole atmosphere throughout the whole weekend. I mean, Friday was already packed. We were almost questioning ourselves if anyone was working in the Netherlands on the Friday. And yeah, especially for such a small country to be able to host such big sports event like Formula One, you know, it requires a lot of commitment from everyone involved and a lot of backing and obviously permissions from government, etc. And then we had the coronavirus, and it should have happened last year, but it was postponed to this season. So I think everyone really enjoyed it, and I'm very proud of what we put on here.
It has been an amazing weekend, but none more so than if your name is Max Verstappen. Pole position, race win in front of 70,000 fans here in the sand dunes of Zandvoort. Max Verstappen confirmed as race winner at the end of the Dutch Grand Prix in P2. Lewis Hamilton, who nabbed fastest lap on the very last lap, having to take it away from his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Pierre Gasly was a brilliant P4 ahead of Charles Leclerc in 5th. Fernando Alonso with a late pass on Carlos Sainz to nab 6th place away from him, 7th for Sainz at the flag. Perez with a difficult day, but ultimately a positive one in P8, then Ocon P9, and Lando Norris in 10th. That demoted Daniel Ricciardo down to 11th, a disappointing day for him. Lance Stroll came home in 12th and Sebastian Vettel 13th. And Antonio Giovinazzi couldn't quite complete the weekend after his heroics in qualifying, one place ahead of teammate Robert Kubica. Then Latifi and George Russell 16th and 17th, Mick Schumacher the last driver to finish the race after Yuki Tsunoda and Nikita Mazepin retired. Nick, a word for Max Verstappen today, other than for one very small mistake which saw him run wide through the chicane. It was a perfect race.
Yeah, Max has been faultless the whole weekend. I mean, he was quickest in practice, quickest in qualifying, and had a lights to flag victory. They really didn't put any step wrong, and they fully deserved this win. I think they clearly had the upper hand this weekend, and yeah, made the best man win.
The best man, I think, of the weekend did win today. Lewis Hamilton threw everything at him that he could. Interesting strategy from Mercedes. Ultimately, they were the ones that called the shots today, Red Bull having to respond. And Lewis at one point got incredibly close, but Max just able to eke out that advantage towards the end.
Yeah, we were just not quite strong enough to really challenge them. Obviously, we did try the undercuts, but there was also quite a lot of back marker traffic that didn't always help. But ultimately, we just have to acknowledge, I think, that Red Bull and Max were the strongest ones today.
A lot of people were expecting to see a safety car today, given how many red flags we've seen through the week, given how much disruption we've seen through the week. Were you surprised that we didn't see a safety car today? Were you surprised that everybody kept it on track?
Yeah, very much so. We thought that at some point when Seb spun at turn 3, that was a moment of risk, but he kept it out of the wall. So yeah, the whole race was actually pretty clean, which was surprisingly after everything that we've seen in practice. I mean, I think we took a lot of practice time away from us, I mean, in general, because of all the interruptions. So it was definitely a surprise, but it's been a great day, great sun, crowd was amazing. So overall, I think it was a very good day for the sport.
It's been a hot day. As
surprisingly.
Well, really warm, not much of a breeze either, and we are right on the coast here, right by the North Sea. When you don't have any breeze to help cool things down, how hot does it get in a cockpit? No safety car, 72 laps, and with a circuit like this that is relentless, push, every corner after corner.
Yeah, it is intense, and as you said, the drivers don't get any rest. There are no real straights to really, get a breather and cool down a little bit. Plus, there are many corners where you reach very high G-forces, so I think it's a physical track for the drivers, and plus the heat and. What's up?
No, nothing. I'm just trying to tell the guys I can't hear them.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. So yeah, I think it's been a difficult day for the guys at the office, but they are very fit and prepared.
One guy who finished in the points today was Esteban Ocon, who was in the pen a little bit earlier today. He started ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso, but ultimately finished a couple of places behind him. Fernando Alonso coming home in P6. Esteban Ocon finishing down the order in P9. What did we make of the Alpine performances today?
Well, I think the Alpine has been strong actually the whole weekend. I mean, Fernando was always in the top, always fighting in front, and they really showed good pace all the way through. They made good calls, and ultimately I think they did a good job to grab that extra 2 points from Carlos.
They did have a great race, as you say. One guy who also had a great race, Charles Leclerc, P5 today. Tough race out there. I know not a lot of passing. How difficult was it out there, though, to bring this thing to the flag?
Well, I mean, it was a pretty good race for us. We were quite strong in terms of pace, but just very, very difficult to get within 2 seconds of Pierre. After that, I was losing the front and struggling to follow closer than that. But the performance itself, I think we were the best of the midfield, but we just needed a better job in qualifying yesterday.
You changed a little something on the setup yesterday in qualifying. I know that you told me that yesterday, which ultimately didn't allow you to fight with Pierre for the P4. Given the way that today went, are you regretting that decision now? And did it affect you in the race as well, that little change?
No, it didn't affect me in the race, but it affected me on my quali lap. But yeah, now I cannot change it. Sometimes you do mistakes, and whenever you are trying to push at the limit, these things happen. So yeah, I don't regret anything, but I think fourth place ideally would have been possible.
And how tough was your first stint? Because I think it was the longest of almost everyone.
The first stint?
The first one, yes.
Well, we were actually very competitive. Towards the end, it started to be quite difficult with front degradation, especially. It was very difficult to rotate the car in the middle of the corner. But overall, that's where we catch up quite a lot Pierre, and we managed to put him under pressure, and that made him box. So that was a good opportunity for us to do a different strategy, but it didn't work out at the end.
And ultimately, a key weekend for you guys in your battle with McLaren. Not a happy day for them.
Yeah, that's what we needed. We knew that whenever McLaren was having a bit of a bad weekend, we needed to have both cars in the points, and that's exactly what we did this weekend, so that's good.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Charles. Great result for Ferrari. As he was saying, obviously McLaren having a difficult day for them, both in the points. It's a positive day for Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely. They are back into the game, and I think we'll see an interesting battle and fight for that championship position all the way till the end.
Now, we were talking about Alpine a little bit ago. Esteban Ocon, of course, and Fernando Alonso. Alonso with a mega move just towards the end of the race to take that place away from Carlos Sainz. Let's hear from Fernando Alonso.
Just a few words in Spanish, please.
Sí, fue una...
All good?
All good. It's great, man. It's great.
Perfect.
It's great. We're quite loose, so it's
It's all good. Who else are we getting in?
Apparently, we're not going to hear from Fernando Alonso. We'll hear
Shame.
from him later.
We'll continue chatting then.
Sorry?
We'll continue chatting then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe
exactly.
Sergio wants to join us in. There he is.
There he is over there. Let's talk about Sergio.
Yeah, Sergio did
Actually,
a great race.
He did have a good race, finishing in P8, but should it have been better?
Well, obviously the lock-up with Nikita Mazepin into turn one early on to the race kind of compromised him, because that forced him to do another pit stop. And yeah, if you look at his finishing position, he could have probably finished in top 5 if it was not for the extra pit stop and 20 seconds. So he clearly showed great race pace today, and also great racecraft to really come through the field, because it's difficult to overtake here. But turn 1 was probably the best opportunity, and he also showed some nice moves into turn 11. So yeah, good job to them.
It's a tough job passing the slightly slowest cars this weekend, because of course they don't have to give the position. He was fighting for position.
Yeah, they were not letting him pass.
No,
certainly not.
No. Some big elbows out from Nikita Mazepin. Had some elbows out with his teammate Mick Schumacher. All going a little bit sour down at Haas. We will talk about that soon. We may not be able to hear from Fernando Alonso just yet, but we will be able to hear from Esteban Ocon, who spoke to Lawrence Barretto a few moments ago.
Ben, how are you feeling about a couple of points? Happy or just left wanting more?
I think a bit more was possible today. There was a tricky start, a bit of a contact here and there. Good fights, all the way through the race, pushing hard. That was good fun, on this track. but I don't think we got, the luckiest blue flags, and that slowed me down and in the wrong parts of the track. So we lost a couple seconds, which were crucial on the position in the end, because couldn't keep Checo behind, obviously, and couldn't attack Carlos, on the other side. So yeah, it could have been a bit better, but I think overall it's been a very strong race and weekend. We've been scoring with the two cars, and we can look at doing the same in Monza.
Now, Pierre Gasly, P4 today. Another brilliant drive from Gasly. All started off in qualifying yesterday with that wonderful run for him. What did you make of Pierre's race today?
Well, I think for him it was a little bit in no man's land, but obviously a great result, another great result, we have to say. I mean, he's really delivering well in the AlphaTauri and consistently scoring good qualifying positions and finishing the job in the race. So yeah, hats off to Pierre. He's doing very well.
He really is. As we were saying, Perez had a slightly more complicated day today. He was walking past there, went to talk to the written press, didn't stay there very long, walked straight back to the paddock. He got driver of the day.
Well, which is fair enough. I mean, well, yes, fair enough. Max, obviously, in front of the home crowd, was probably the greatest this weekend. But Sergio, as we already discussed, did a great race from the back of the, from the pit lane, actually. Yeah, if it was not for the lockup, he probably would have finished in top 5. So he might be a little disappointed about that, but I think he can still be kind of satisfied with the job they managed to do today.
I'm sure we'll be able to hear from Sergio at some point after the race today, but yeah, didn't look very happy after the race despite that drive all the way through. Now, we touched on McLaren a little bit earlier, just in terms of their disappointment today as regards the points haul from Ferrari. We'll discuss exactly how McLaren have done a little later. First, I want to hear from Daniel Ricciardo, who started this race in the points, but finished just outside in P11.
Hey Daniel, how did you manage to end that race without any points?
I don't know. Well, I kind of know, but yeah, I mean, I don't think we had massive pace. So I think that was the reality. I think at best maybe we were getting 1 point today, but yeah, we tried a little bit of a, let's say, teamwork strategy to help out Lando, but I don't know. I don't think we executed it very well. But obviously it's something we talk about, and obviously the team have good oversight on pit walls. So if they see an opportunity to maximize points for the team, you have to obviously go for it and trust their view. So we'll see tonight. Obviously, my feeling now is it wasn't executed perfectly, but in saying that, I don't know. I don't think we could have done much better. As I said, maybe it would have been me 10th instead of Lando, but it's not like we were top 7 or something today. So ultimately, we didn't have great pace. Bit of a shame. Obviously, you want to be in the fight, and when you do a lot of laps and get no reward, it's obviously not that exciting. But we got a week till Monza, one of the best races of the year for sure. For actual racing as well, overtaking. Hopefully, it provides a bit. So looking forward to that, and I think today as well. Like it's as long as we kind of learn from it, then that's it. That's all we can do, and try to grow and make some better moves next Sunday, and try to get top 5.
Great stuff. I'll see you there. Cheers.
So Daniel Ricciardo there, quite philosophical in what he was saying. He's actually just standing behind us talking to the written press now. He hoped that he'd made a step forward when we got to Spa, having had that summer break to really think about that first half of the season. Had hoped that Spa signified a real switch, a real change for him. Is this weekend an element of kind of back down to earth with a bump for him, or is it just, do we think the McLaren had a slightly off weekend?
Let's hope for the last, and let's hope it was just a one-off. I think this track has been very particular as well. Obviously, it has very specific corners with a lot of banking, and it's a very short lap, different to Spa with long straights and a low downforce package. So that might not have played in their favor, but let's welcome Robert here with us.
He's good, isn't he? Robert Kubica, of course, yesterday you woke up and you thought that the worst had happened. You believed it was you that might have had COVID. It was Kimi. You get your chance this weekend back in a Grand Prix car. How did you enjoy your run out here at Zandvoort?
Well, it has been not easy 2 days. Stepping up in such a demanding track for the long time, haven't been in F1 car. Long time didn't experience not new, common factors which F1 car brings from speed, grip, but also through different circumstances, different tires, different fuel loads. Considering that today I jump in after 2019 was my last race. It has been a tough one, and also spoke with George just before jumping into the car, and he said, "How is it?" I said, "Well, it will be tough," and he said, "Yeah, probably the most demanding track physically." But anyway, I'm satisfied. Where I felt comfortable, I think I had pretty good, decent pace. Where I was struggling with the tires, I just accepted, and it's very easy when you follow the others. You don't know what grip you will have, you don't know what to experience. I did have a couple of nice fights with Seb and with Latifi in the last lap, so all in all, satisfied.
I was very impressed with your performance in FP3, was it? FP3?
No?
But that lap when you had, what you lost in sector 1, the rest of the lap was equal to Giovinazzi.
Yeah, but
so
I lost it. There is always a reason why I lose it. I was struggling, to be honest, through the first part of the track. I think a bit with the tires, then also with banking,
Yeah, the line was difficult, especially in 3.
Missing Friday didn't help. But also, to be honest, this year car I struggle. I struggled to feel. Last year I was even driving every 3-4 months. I was able to jump in, and when you have confidence straight away, it unlocks so much easier job. You are straight away much faster on the pace. And to be honest, this year I'm struggling a lot. We did change a few things. I did not have same feeling on power steering on the steering wheel. So this, when you don't feel the grip, it's very, very difficult to jump in. But anyway, that's how it is.
Considering the late call-up, astonishing job all round, and even with the mask, I think I can see a little smile under there, man. It's great to see you back in a Grand Prix car. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Where you deserve to be. Thanks, Robert. Lando Norris coming in now. Lando, I know it was a tough weekend for you guys this weekend, but point at least.
1 point, yeah.
Yeah, just the one. Better than none.
No, it's better than none.
It was a decent race, no? Decent comeback.
From third, yeah. I didn't think we could have done a lot more. I had better pace than the Alpines towards the end, but I got within 3.5 seconds, and you get all the dirty air and you just can't do anything all of a sudden. And you need a big pace advantage like Sergio had on us. He was on the soft, he's in a much quicker car. I was on the hard, and it was just too difficult to hold him behind. But I think as bad as 1 point sounds, and as a little as it sounds, it was the best we could do today.
What was it about this weekend, this track in particular, that didn't play to your and the car's strengths?
I mean, a number of things, not just one, but just the characteristic of some of these corners. We know we kind of have suffered in the past, and we just suffered a lot more this weekend. But we still need to do analysis. It's not obvious why we were so bad and why we struggled so much. But I think we have some good ideas. So nothing to get worried about. I think we can bounce back well in Monza and have a good weekend and be back on form like we should be. But you never know. But we'll try our best.
How much later did you stop than the Alpines? Because do you think the pace delta you had relatively to the Alpines was thanks to the tire life at the end, or?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what lap they boxed.
Because you stayed out very long to overcut the
I'm guessing they must have boxed around 20 to 25. And I boxed, I think, around 42 or 43, so almost 20 laps, which I think then helps a lot, with the tire advantage, especially when you come out on lower fuel with new tires, you can really use it a lot more. So that definitely helped. But I think just the fact from A to B, we had a better race than they did in terms of pure pace. So positives, but just not the weekend we were hoping for.
A little bit of contact with Sergio.
Robin's racing.
You've been listening to Zach too much.
I know. I'm just not going to make his life easy. Of course, I don't want to make contact. I don't want to put myself out of the race or him. But sometimes it just gets to that point, where you're squeezing, you're trying to come on throttle. I'm not turning left, I'm still trying to steer right. But I'm not going to make his life easy. No matter if it's a Haas trying to overtake me or a Mercedes or a Red Bull. So, Robin's racing. I try to make his life difficult, but he still managed to get past. So, he should be happy enough.
Good drive, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, dude. I love that from him. Not giving any quarter, elbows out, rubbing his racing. Yeah, he's always such a joy to talk to. And what about this guy? I mean, do you want to open? Because you've been full of praise for this guy today.
Of course, he's my friend. Yeah, congrats, mate. Another good race.
Yeah, I must say I'm really happy with that one. P4 for us is a very strong result for all the team and also for myself behind Max and the two Mercedes. So, you know, there was not much happening ahead of me, but Charles was behind the whole race and yeah, putting some strong laps, so putting some pressure. But yeah, the car was just really good, and when the car is like this, so enjoyable to drive, especially on such a track. Yeah.
And strategy-wise, you still had to cover Charles a little bit because
yeah, at the end of the first stint, they had more pace than us with the softs. Started to struggle a bit with the tire. Decided to box just to be safe for the undercut, and after that we had a lot of pace, but the team just kept asking all the time to slow down, and I was like, I'm not even pushing, so let me do my thing, and yeah, we opened quite a big gap. I had a nice overtake on Fernando, which I enjoyed, and then after that was all about managing the gap with Charles.
good job, mate.
Thanks.
Keep it going.
Yeah, always.
And back to Monza next week.
Yeah, back to Monza 1 year after the win, so this is gonna feel pretty special. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna be very tough to match the expectations going back there, but yeah, we'll do our best. And the last 3 races, we're at P6, P5, and P4, so just very strong form, and hopefully we can keep it up in Italy.
You're good to go.
Thanks.
He's good, isn't he?
He's very good. I think he's a better driver than journalist, but.
Thanks, mate.
He did. I mean, so that fascinating. They were telling him to slow down.
Yeah, incredible.
Absolute. What a job!
Yeah.
What a job from him. Just week in, week out at the moment. With,
Yeah,
with Pierre.
it's outstanding, really.
Really impressive. Let's roll back to the studio very quickly, because we haven't really talked all that much about what determined today's race, and that was, of course, the strategy and the way it played out between Red Bull Racing and Mercedes. Sam Collins, my dear friend, I know you're going to talk us through it, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. It was meant to be coming into this race weekend, but we were wondering whether it was a one-stop strategy or a two-stop strategy. Turned out to be a little bit of both. And you can see that just looking at this screen. It covers all the tyre stops all the way through the race. But I thought I'd start with Nikita Mazepin, who retired from the race with a hydraulic issue. Yuki Tsunoda, he went out with that power loss. And George Russell dropped out just at the end of the race with a transmission issue. Now, that's interesting, because George Russell was one of a few drivers who was trying the one-stop strategy, starting on the mediums and going on to the hards. Didn't make it work. Gearbox gave up. He put the softs on when he came in to try and fix it. Failed. But a few other drivers, Lando Norris, you just spoke to him, he tried to go for that long strategy. And both Ferraris, they sort of played their own game, going deep into the race on the soft tyre, probably a little bit too deep, and then switching to the hards. Fernando Alonso, seeing what Ferrari were up to with the Alpine, went deep on the softs, switched to the mediums just after one of the Ferraris had done, and went on, and he just got a little bit deeper into the race. Because he was on that softer compound tyre, Alonso could get that track position. He could also overtake Carlos Sainz just towards the end of the race, giving us a little bit of nice racing, and that was really good action to see. But Sergio Perez, the tyre whisperer they call him, well, he was screaming at that set of hard tyres he started the race on, screaming so hard he killed them off when he was chasing the Haas to try and get by. He had to come back into the pits and go onto an alternate, essentially one-stop strategy still, but had to go back onto the mediums. That cost him an extra 20 seconds in the pits, then had to go to the softs as planned at the same point as planned and go through to the end of the race. Had he not made that error, he would have been about 20 seconds up the road, and that would have put him up to 6th position in the race result. So while he was driver of the day, that was a bit of an error from the Mexican driver and cost Red Bull what could be some quite important Constructors' Championships points, and also the chance of going after the fastest lap. Then the big battle at the front, Verstappen versus the two Mercedes. Mercedes rolled the dice first, decided to put Lewis Hamilton to a two-stop strategy. Hamilton then went on the medium tyres, but thought he could go longer on that set of mediums, that first set. Then Mercedes made an odd decision. They put him onto another set of mediums a little bit too early, tried to get an undercut going on Max Verstappen. It didn't really work out, and the medium tyre really didn't have the lap time advantage over Max Verstappen on the hard tyre. Verstappen was okay all the way through to the end, so Hamilton, just at the end of the race, realised I've got nothing for it than to whack on a set of new tyres, go to the end of the race and get fastest lap. However, his teammate had slightly different ideas. Valtteri Bottas went for a one-stop as well, deep on the softs, then long on the mediums, then went on to the soft tyres, was told not to go for fastest lap, except he did go for it quite clearly, but didn't quite set it. Hamilton was quicker, but that will lead to interesting conversations for you down in the paddock wheel, because Valtteri Bottas, I think, was a very naughty boy just there.
Oh, yes, indeed. Nick, do we dare talk about, I know you're a Mercedes man, don't want to put you in an awkward spot,
position.
but do we talk about Valtteri getting that fastest lap towards the end? Because they did radio and say don't do it, and it popped in purple and then popped in fastest lap. And
Yeah, well, I think the plan was always to come in at the end with Lewis, so obviously the fuel level would have come down a little bit more, so either way I think Lewis had better cards for the fastest lap.
I don't want to put you in an awkward position. Fun for us though. Ariana Bravo is with Mr. Christian Horner, who I'm sure other than Max Verstappen is probably one of the happiest people in the whole of the Netherlands right now. Ariana down in the paddock.
Congratulations on incredible performance here at the Dutch Grand Prix. Max was looking pretty dominant all through the weekend. Did you ever really have any doubt that he would bring home the victory in front of this incredible crowd?
Well, look, I mean, there's massive pressure on him all weekend, and the first thing was to get the pole yesterday, but then so many things that can go wrong, and with Mercedes strategically having, you know, two players in the game, that made it a very complicated race for us. And so the crucial moment was when they split their strategies to make sure that we passed Valtteri as quick as we could. Max did that immediately, and that then opened up the second half of the race for us. So a clinical race, you know, from him today.
It absolutely was a clinical race. Of course, back in the lead of the driver standings as well. Will you have time to celebrate before we head over to Monza?
No, we'll be pretty much straight from here. But I mean, what an amazing crowd and reaction and venue, you know, this weekend. I've never in all my career heard so much noise and support for a single driver, and the way Max has handled that pressure this weekend, all credit to him, because it would have been very easy for it to get to him.
Cool, calm and collected throughout and bringing home the victory. Can we just have a quick word on Checo as well?
Yeah.
Because a brilliant recovery drive from him.
Fantastic drive from him. Brilliant drive from Checo. I mean, not only did he have to start from the pit lane, he then had a massive flat spot that we had to pit again, so that put him, you know, to the back again. But you know, he recovered tremendously well. Some great passing, and you know, important points today. So you know, hopefully he can have a better Saturday. And now we got that engine penalty out the way as well.
Congratulations once again. Thank you,
very
Christian.
much. Thank you.
Thanks, Ariana. Thank you, Christian Horner. Now, from the front of the grid and the race-winning team to the team really struggling this year, Haas F1. After qualifying yesterday, Nikita said that Mick had intentionally, let's say, fudged his lap. Not a happy bunny in any way. Says it's the second time it's happened. There are team orders. Mick Schumacher's ignoring them. On the parade lap before the race started this morning, the two drivers refused to stand next to one another. When a relationship with a teammate, Nick, starts to deteriorate at team, I don't know if you've ever had that before, or maybe you've been able to stop it from deteriorating. How can that affect a racing team when two drivers are just not getting on?
Luckily I haven't, but it's a very unhealthy situation. Obviously for a team like Haas, I think it's even more so important to work together as a team to try and learn and make steps forward. And by fighting each other, you know, for place, you know, at the back of the grid, it's not really changing anything. And I think I don't know really what is triggering it, but I think the team management has to, grab both drivers together and make them aware that it's about the team at this stage, and they really need to try and work together to move forward. But it's not about who qualifies, you know, P19 or 20 or the other way around. I think it's really about the team interest now to move forward, really.
And this is a year of education for both of them. We know the car has barely been developed since last year, really, and it hasn't been developed throughout this year. There aren't any expectations on them to really be much higher than P19, P20. It's all based on next year. Is this a facet of being a racing driver at the top level that both of them have to learn, is how to get over these difficulties and make the best of a bad situation.
I think anyone could at some point in their career run into a more difficult situation, and of course resilience is always important to overcome difficult moments. But I think from a professional point of view, this is a professional environment, and at this stage, I personally think the team interest is above anything, and they need to try and work together to go forward rather than fighting each other and hitting each other to make everyone's life more difficult.
Yeah, tough situation down there at Haas. We haven't really had much time to talk about Williams today. George Russell starting just outside the points. I know he had a bit of an issue towards the end of the race, but some real kind of green shoots of recovery at that team. It's looking, each weekend, there's a good news story for Williams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, George started P11, so they had a good shot on point finishes, but they were kind of stuck where they were, and then unfortunately later in the race he got some gearbox issues. But it's great to see how Williams has been progressing over the past few months, and obviously having a double score finisher in Budapest, and then the great podium in Spa. It's great to see that there the chemistry and the kind of execution is really really improving and really capitalizing them some points.
Now we have the top three drivers coming to you at some point, having just completed the interviews behind us. I think we can actually hear from the top three now. Valtteri Bottas, of course, coming home third. Lewis Hamilton in P2, with today's race winner and delighted man Max Verstappen. Let's hear from the top three.
Hey Valtteri, got another podium in the bag, but it just didn't look like you quite had the pace of challenge for the win today.
Yeah, I committed to one stop quite early on in the race, so it meant I definitely had to do more management than Lewis and Max were doing. But I think one stop was quite a way off two stops today, and the tyre wear and the vibrations towards the end of the stints were quite tricky. So in the end, I still stopped just for safety. So it was like a mix of one or two stops for me, and not ideal.
And you had a go at the fastest lap right at the end of the race, probably gave your teammate a scare.
Sector 1, Sector 2, yes, I was pushing, but Sector 3 I was lifting off quite a bit. So because Lewis needs that one extra point more than I do in the championship.
Lewis, was it a tough one out there today? I know you always work hard, but it looked like you had to work extra hard today.
Yeah, today was killer. They were so fast today. It was. Whew. That's the quickest I think they've been all year. But I gave it everything anyways.
I suppose you must take heart from at least the fact that I know they're the quickest all year, but you still stuck with them and you tried everything strategy-wise. You did purples when you needed to.
Yeah, definitely. I gave it everything. I think today, really, being that we weren't quickest or quick enough, we needed everything to really work out for us, like traffic, which it didn't. We needed pit stop to be perfect, which it wasn't. We needed strategy to be on point, and it wasn't quite perfect. And then we just came out in traffic. So even then, if all that was perfect, it would have still been hard to have got by them. So, but we gave it everything.
You lost the championship lead, but it's still so close, and then a long way to go.
Yeah, a long way to go. They put an upgrade on their car in the last race, and today you've seen the speed of the improvement that they've made. So we've got to do some work. We've got to bring something to be able to compete with them.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Max, congratulations. How does it feel to have won your home race?
Yeah, incredible feeling, of course. Of course, I know that the fans expect a lot going into the weekend, but it's never easy to fulfill that. But this weekend has been great. Also the race, Lewis is putting the pressure on a lot, so it was basically 72 laps of pushing to try and stay ahead. Also, when the pit stops were approaching, and it wasn't easy with the traffic. All the time we got close to cars, we lost quite a lot of time, and it's quite crucial to still manage to have that 3-second gap, which we had most of the time. But yeah, it was a good one. With all the people, all the fans here supporting you, it was just an incredible sight.
It felt like you guys executed it brilliantly, both the team and yourself. Every time they did something, you reacted, and you didn't really put a foot wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It was always tight, but I think we did the right calls, and we managed the race as a team really well.
Take the lead of the Drivers' Championship. You must be pleased after what's been happening in the last few races. It hasn't really gone your way.
Yeah, it's still very tight, and next week is going to be again a very important race for us. Monza has never been our strong point, but let's see what we can do. I mean, for the moment, I'm just very happy with this weekend, and yeah, I'll enjoy the evening at home.
Great stuff. Enjoy it. Congratulations.
Nick, Max is absolutely right, isn't he? 224.5 points for him. Lewis Hamilton on 221.5 points, 3 points splitting them as we go to Monza.
Mercedes taking the lead in the Constructor Championship.
They have indeed.
Valtteri jumping to P3 in the Championship. So yeah, everything to play for. I think it's going to be a very long season all the way till the end. Obviously, we've only just passed halfway. So yeah, still many races to go, and I think we'll see an interesting battle in front, obviously between Mercedes, Red Bull, Max, and Lewis. But then we have the battle between Ferrari and McLaren for the P3 position in the Constructor Championship.
We do,
well.
and that's split by just 11.5 points. Ferrari on 181.5, McLaren on 170, but also that fight behind them. Alpine in 5th on 90, AlphaTauri in 6th on 84, and they've both now gapped Aston Martin, who are down on 53.
Yeah, I think it's been a good year for the championship. I mean, the last couple of years, obviously we've extended the homologation of this car, but that kind of brought everything closer together, and yeah, the midfield is extremely tight, so it will be close to the end.
Nice stuff. Let's finish off by heading down to the paddock where Ariana has got Toto Wolff live.
Hello, Will. Yes, I am joined by Toto Wolff right now. Toto, P2 and P3 for the team. Can you just talk us through the strategy as the race unfolded today?
Yeah, it was a difficult one because probably 50% of the race was lost yesterday. Then Max had a good in qualifying. Max had a really good start, and then we needed to wrestle with strategies, and we weren't just good enough overall in the race. Pace-wise, I think we would have been there, but when you're second on the road, you're always the loser.
And there was a moment there
Not
where
always, but often.
there was a moment there where we were thinking that perhaps you would pull Lewis in for a third pit stop. Was that ever an option?
Yes, but the risk would have been that we give Max the gap for fastest lap at the end. So the planner never showed that we would be actually catching up completely, and then he could have covered it as easily. He was 3 seconds ahead.
Now, of course, we have Monza coming up. Lewis has fallen behind in the driver's standings, but how are you regrouping and prepping for Monza, and do you think you'll have a better luck there?
I think 3 points makes no difference, and the same with the Constructor Championship. This is full on. Many races to go, and we're going to fight with everything we have.
Thank you so much, Toto. Thank you for joining us
Thank
there.
you.
That is all. Back to you, Will.
Thank you, Ariana, and thank you, Toto Wolff. And thank you, Nick de Vries. Nick, in summation today, just the perfect weekend for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, to do this at home in front of so many people, 70,000 to be precise, and then hopefully next year we'll have an even bigger crowd when all the COVID restrictions have been released. But it's been a great weekend for them, and they fully deserved it.
And what's next for you? Of course, Formula E World Champion. You were at Le Mans a couple of weeks ago. What a race that is. What's next in your calendar?
I'm traveling with the team to the UK, and I'm in the simulator on Monday and Tuesday, and then coming one day back home in Monaco, and then leaving to Monza as well. So you have your weekend off, but I'll continue to Monza with your colleagues.
Lovely stuff, my man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really massively appreciate it.
Cheers.
I'm not going to ask Nick about what's going on next year, but between us and everybody at home, I really hope your place is on the Formula One grid, because you absolutely deserve it. But I'm not going to put you in an awkward position and ask you if it's going to happen. Fingers crossed.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Our thanks, of course, to Sam Collins back at base to Ariana Bravo over in the other paddock. To Nick, for all the drivers for coming on the show, everybody behind the cameras that you don't get to see. That is it. Monza is next in 1 week's time as this incredible 2021 Formula One World Championship just keeps on going. What a wonderful, wonderful year, and what an incredible weekend here at Zandvoort, which has set the bar. The bar almost got through the show without completely messing up. Set the bar to a new height for Formula One. Thank you so much, folks. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.